Okay, welcome back everyone to Buying Local. I'm your host, Mike Nelson from Five Towers Media. Joined today by Jim Bruchac from, I can't even say from because you do many things. I guess today we'll talk about where we're, or I'll let you talk about moreover because I'm going to mess it up and give a bad description. So Jim, if you don't mind, give us an idea of who we are and where we are right now.
Sure. My name is James Bruchac, author, storyteller, animal tracker, cultural educator, all that kind of stuff. And right now we are at the Ndakinna Education Center in Greenfield Center, where we do pretty much everything that I do. We run courses here focusing on things like wilderness survival and animal tracking. We do school field trips here that focus on Northeastern Native culture, as well as group team building, survival skills. We do youth camps here focusing on all of the above. We do wilderness first aid classes here, wilderness first responder. And of course, we still do martial arts programs here as well. Everything from Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, Kyokushin karate to Muay Thai. So a lot of things under one roof. And of course, a lot of storytelling coming from a family of storytellers as well, members of the Ndakinna Abenaki tribe. So grew up hearing a lot of stories, learning a lot about that part of my family. And so this place in Ndakinna, which means our land in the Abenaki language, we bring it all together. We bring all of the arts of life together, from storytelling, culture, survival skills, martial arts, all of those things grouped together in the idea of arts of life, things that all human beings have in our ancestry if we go back far enough.
If you go back far enough, let me just, this equipment, it's been
around the block.
It's been around the block, yeah, as we're.
Well, we are talking about survival. So
that's true, yes.
Survival situations, things aren't always ideal.
No, and that's a great segue. And to be fair, it's funny because as you're talking about all the things, I've had the personal experience for a lot of that stuff. I've done the wilderness certification. I've done some of the survival training classes with you. I've done jiu-jitsu off and on here for years. I think I've got a solo Muay Thai course under my belt. Hope to get back to that at some point. And I think judo's got to be on the list too at some point here. It's just a great place.
Thank you.
You guys do a lot in the community, around the community. And now, of course, you also have the Alliance Center over at Wilton Mall. We should probably give a quick shout out to that.
Yeah, one of the main reasons it's taken me a little while to get back to our grown-up survival classes is our jiu-jitsu program. All of our martial arts programs exploded post-COVID. Before COVID, we had a nice size, school, about 100 students total. After, so pre-COVID, then post-COVID, we went over 150 and we're still climbing. And this facility could only house so much martial arts. It's in a different part of the building, but it's limited. And so we took a leap. It was scary because we own this facility. And we found a great spot in Wilton Mall and rented out close to 5,000 square foot just for our jiu-jitsu program, which is our biggest. And we added another 150 members since we opened there last year. So that's been a great success, and things here continue to grow as well. But of course, in doing so, making that move allowed for us to come back and focus more on things we've done here traditionally, like the survival skills, expanding the camps and the other programs that we do.
Yeah, and which I'm really excited. I know we're going to be talking a little bit about the survival stuff that you've got coming up. I think fire building is going to be the first one, right? So,
yes.
But before we get into talking about the survival classes that are coming up, I feel like we should touch on your background and what qualifies you, right, to be able to teach these kinds of things. I know you can walk into Ndakinna and see, newspaper clippings of you and the rest of your family doing some really great, cool stuff. You went to Africa?
Yeah, West Africa. I was actually conceived in West Africa. My dad, during the Vietnam era, was part of a government program where teachers would go to West Africa and basically teach in the English, leaning countries. And so he was there as a teacher, and he also was a track coach. And so he and my mom lived there, and my mom ended up coming home for me to be born, but I could have been born in Ghana, West Africa. And then years later, my father and I went back to West Africa, to Mali, West Africa, in the 90s to do a research project on the Dogon people in Mali. And that was a fantastic trip that we did. So yeah, I have had experience in travel to places like that, as well as Australia, parts of Mexico, studying different indigenous cultures besides the one here in the Northeast.
Now, I mean, obviously, and I've said this on other podcasts, and not to sound like a fanboy, I think I said that the last time, but like, I mean, your family's really interesting. Everybody, it's not like, you guys don't necessarily have normal skills, we'll say. I shouldn't say normal, that's like the wrong word, but it's like, you don't necessarily, you guys have a ton of skills, and they're not common or average skills, like your brother's language skills, your dad and his experience and all the things that he's done and written about. And it's wild to me. So like, as far as your training or experience or getting into all the things that we're going to talk about today, whether it's tracking or fire building or survival skills, like how does one, was that was just a Tuesday with your dad growing up, or like?
So for my brother and I, it really started with the stories. My dad, through a twist of fate, was raised by his grandparents, Jesse Bowman, who had a great influence on his life, who was, although visibly Native, was very ashamed of his Native ancestry, and his grandmother as well had mixed Native ancestry. But it was in a time when that wasn't something you would be proud of. He would basically outright deny it when asked. And so my dad, because he was raised in such a way and learning a lot about the natural world and understanding connections like that, he really sought out the elders and wanted to learn things that especially his grandfather, was too ashamed to teach him. So in college, he began to travel around and visit the various elders among the Haudenosaunee, Iroquois people, Abenaki people, and gather stories and traditions and learn more about the things that he wouldn't be taught. And through that line, we are both Abenaki. We also have Mohawk ancestry. We also have Mohegan Lenape ancestry, as well as a lot of Dutch and other European ancestries mixed in. And so my dad shared the stories with my brother and I first. So these were stories that connected us to this place, stories that are from this area, and really got us excited about learning more about the natural world through those stories. And my dad, who also had went to Cornell University, had a minor in zoology. He knew a lot academically about the natural world as well. So he would take us out in the woods, teach us things, learn about the various plants and trees and the animals. And so that was kind of the first introduction, stories, and then physical time in the woods with our dad. And then in my teenage years, my dad had an opportunity for both of us to travel to Onchioto, New York, to the Six Nations Indian Museum, where there's a program being done by a guy named John Stokes, who had lived for a number of years with the Aborigines in Australia. He was coming back to the United States and wanting to connect with different Native communities and help bring Native youth back to the natural world, regain a respect for the traditions, the stories. So of course, my dad was invited, I was invited, which was fantastic. And there was a number of Mohawk and other Native people there. And he really lit a fire in me. Like, he made things that I'd heard from my dad seem cool again in my teenage years. And he had this cool Australian accent. And he made stories seem cool, because by my teenage years, my brother as well, my dad always jokes that he would come to tell stories and we started locking our door because it wasn't cool anymore to hear stories from your dad. None of the other kids in school were hearing these stories, So John kind of gave me that anchor and made me want to learn more about the things that I was kind of starting to be ashamed of. You don't want to be different when you get to, junior high and high school. So he made it seem cool. And eventually, he taught me some new skills. I actually learned the bow drill fire from John. My dad got it right away. It took me a number of years to get it.
And the bow drill, that's when you got the string on a stick and you're trying to make fire.
He got it right away. So it took me a few years later in my teens to finally master it, and other skills. He really made tracking seem cool. And then he ended up inviting myself and eventually my brother to work as assistant instructors in New Mexico for a program he had founded called Hawkeye Training, which was for a mix of Native and non-Native youth to learn traditional survival skills, as well as I mentioned in the beginning, ideas of the arts of life, storytelling, understanding the culture and place, mixed in with survival skills and martial arts. So that was really where I kind of decided this was going to be part of my life. even when I was playing away at college, playing football, focusing on that a lot at Ithaca, almost every summer I would be in New Mexico for a few weeks with John Stokes, the tracking project. And after college, that kind of stuck. And had an opportunity to travel with my dad to West Africa to do a part of a research project writing about the Dogon people. And that inspired me even more. So I decided, you know what? I want to start teaching this stuff. It seems cool. And I started out teaching the survival skills. And people would always ask me, do you know the stories? I'm like, I know the stories, but I don't tell them, you know? And eventually, sitting around a campfire at a wilderness survival gathering, I believe in Georgia, actually, I told the story I knew from my dad, and they liked it. And they asked me if I'd do it the next night. And I luckily had a copy of one of my dad's books, The Wind Eagle. So I had to refresh my memory of some of the other stories. And by the end of that week, I felt like, wow, I can tell stories. And within a year or two, I was doing more storytelling than teaching the skills. But of course, they really go hand in hand. And along the way, met so many different cool people working for National Wildlife Federation at their summits in the summer. I ended up meeting Dr. James Halfpenny, who's probably the world's foremost scientific tracker. We've written a few books together in the Scats and Track series years later after our first introduction. And he kind of opened the door for me to go learn and play in his backyard, Yellowstone National Park.
Oh, wow.
And so that connection allowed me to learn about track animals like wolves, grizzlies, and that has continued for 3 decades. I've been making trips out there, and was just able to take my 15-year-old daughter Ava out there this year and to experience some of the same things. There's nothing like getting on the track of a grizzly bear.
I bet.
And knowing how to be safe in that environment. And the only scary thing...
They scare the crap out of me.
Yeah, well, it kind of scared me because I thought my daughter would be more scared than she was, but she grew up, you know, hearing about me going out there, right? And so I had the problem where she kept going too far ahead of us. She refused to wear bear spray. We had bear spray, and as well as a 357 backup.
I was going to ask you if you were armed as well.
In one of the areas, not in the national park, but we were in the Sealy Lake area. We were traveling around with actually a good friend, former student, Zach Clothier, who is now an award-winning landscape photographer and camera trap photographer.
I love camera trap photography.
He has phenomenal, ZachClothier.com. Check it out.
I think I've actually seen his stuff.
Yeah, there's one he won a big award for.
With the bear?
Grizzly bear
on
top
God.
Of the elk skull. Yeah. So
you know that guy?
He was one of my students years ago. He went on a Yellowstone trip because for years after I made this initial connection with Dr. Halfpenny, I started bringing people from the East out, and we would co-teach in Yellowstone tracking skills.
Oh, no kidding.
And so Zach went on one of those trips, and he loved it so much. Originally, he was an Adirondack photographer. He ended up moving out there, and now he is literally a world famous photographer.
Legitimately, I saw that photo. I didn't even know camera trapping was a thing.
Yeah.
I saw that photo, and I went and started buying camera trap gear so I could set it up because I was like, that is the most amazing
And he has a
thing.
book. He wrote like the book.
Oh, yeah.
On how to do it. And so we've been out several times. My partner Leah has been out with me as well. She had a great time tracking. And so we went out this last year, and it was like heaven for Ava. She grew up with four-wheelers and things like that. So we were four-wheeling in Sealy Lake up in the mountains. She had her own four-wheeler and visiting these camera traps. And so we were in basically where that famous picture was taken, okay, of that grizzly on the elk. We went into that area to retrieve a camera, and Ava kept getting way far ahead of us. So Ava, come back. Well, I could see a bear coming. So that was a little scary. Luckily, everything worked out okay. And we ended up checking some of the cameras, and he has cellular cameras to let him know if it's worth checking a trap. Because we have, dozens of these expensive traps out there. It takes a lot of time to visit every one weekly. So folks set up cellular cameras. So we went and checked some of the traps. We saw a couple mountain lions and other things. And then we left. And we're driving back because we're now going back to Bozeman. My friend, Greg Riccaro, who also worked at the tracking project. And I get a call from Zach. He goes, you won't believe what I just picked up on the cellular camera. I go, what? Within an hour of us leaving, that same exact grizzly bear that is in that picture went by the camera that we had just been at.
Wow.
So it was probably in the vicinity while my daughter was walking a little too far ahead. And so that was a pretty cool experience, and it still didn't freak her out. And later on, he also had pictures of 3 mountain lions on that camera, actually on a nearby camera, all together, probably related.
Yeah.
So just really, really cool stuff.
Well, and let me just stop you real quick just to explain to anybody wondering what a camera trap is. Essentially, you take a digital camera like a Sony A600 or whatever it is and a motion sensor that triggers the camera when it goes off. And so what he does is he puts these things out in the woods in areas that he thinks will have traffic and essentially just is able to get these photos. And the photo that James is talking about is like this wild grizzly that I don't know if it killed the elk or if it came across the elk carcass, but Zach just happened to have a camera trap on this thing, and you got to look it up. It is an amazing photo. So.
And he uses tracking to scout the areas. He's familiar with the areas. He also uses drones to look above at different. He understands topography and where animals might go. So we've had some fun with him over the years. I've visited him multiple times while out there, and every time we go to his camera traps, there's something cool that we catch. So the neat thing is when I travel to be able to connect with people that that actually in some cases started here, like Zach. So that's really cool. So I will be out there again hopefully later this year as well. And Leah got to go out 3 years prior. And just outside of Yellowstone, and got to watch a huge grizzly bear in a field, basically fattening up for the winter time. So cool. That was great. And if you know how to act around these animals, you're fine.
Well, that's what I don't get afraid in the woods at all, but bears do worry me. And like even up here where, Spire Falls is where we're all kind of living on Spire Falls Mountain, so to speak. And there's a huge bear population. Yeah. Black bear, I believe,
and
right?
Black bears in general are pretty skittish.
I've never seen one.
If you make a lot of noise, they're usually going to go the other way. The most dangerous animal is the one that's used to human beings, if they've been fed by human beings per se. And of course, in the national parks years ago, Yellowstone was one of the big examples when they used to allow you to feed the bears. That's when they had the most attacks. So a bear in the wild generally will try to avoid a human being. So one of the things we teach people to do is make a lot of noise, especially in grizzly country out west. Let them know you're coming. And most of the time they go the other way. I have luckily never had a bad experience yet. We've had it where we did scare bears off by making noise. And we had other times where the bears stayed a safe distance, knew we were there, and then we were fine. So learning that healthy respect. And most of the time at most, we would carry just bear spray, which actually is a better choice because if you wound a bear, it can become more dangerous.
Oh, no kidding.
But having my daughter with me, it was more like, well, if the bear spray doesn't work, it's always good to have another option, but not in the national park.
But they don't allow it?
They do now.
They do now.
But I've never carried it in there. So
I knew a guy I knew him for a brief time. He dated a friend of mine, but he was a guide out in Alaska, like fishing guide. And he like bears left, right, and center. And they're just on either walking through streams where there's bears all over the place, brown bears, and they're on these little boats. And I'm like, don't you like worried? He's like, I'm like, are you armed? He's like, nah, they don't bother you.
Brown bear, grizzly bears are a type of brown bear. Brown bears in general are more social because they're around a lot of other brown bears. There's plenty of food. Grizzly bears live in areas where food can be a little more scarce. They're more solitary. They're smaller, luckily, but they are the most aggressive because of that. They protect their food. And they protect their young. Brown bears, on average, are a safer bear to be around the brown bears proper versus grizzly, which is a subset of brown bear.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. Now, it's cool stuff. So it's really neat to be able to pass on the knowledge to the next generation. And, of course, I've been doing that with our kids here for years, from the tracking to the survival skills. And we've just had some really cool alumni come out of here. Some go into wildlife fields. We have a few that have gone into special forces, Army Rangers, and Green Berets and things like that, that got a foundation here and really wanted to take it to another level in their professional life. So that's been really cool to watch that. And then we have people that have become, robotics engineers and all these other cool things, but gained their foundation here through our programs, whether it be our youth camps or whether it be our skills classes, such as you.
It's really funny because first of all, I live not far away, and for just for reference, we live on a farm. We've got, I don't know, like 45 acres, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it's wooded. And then that woods butts up against, I don't even know, hundreds of acres of other woods, right? So you can go out in our back and get kind of remote, we'll say. And it's one of my favorite things. Like right now, I literally was just thinking this yesterday, because now we're a few days after a snowstorm. I'm like, and the animals have now been able, I'm like, I got to get out in the woods and start seeing what I can see out there to see what we got crawling around, see where the deer trails are, see how many coyotes and foxes. But even just around my barn, because I send you every winter, I send you pictures because I'll find tracks around the barn that I'm worried about livestock. And because of the tracking class that we took, like I can identify the difference between a cat track and a dog track.
Watch out for the weasel and
the weasel,
smaller dog tracks, especially the weasel though, even more so than the fox.
Those fishers, yeah.
Fisher.
Oh man, but like I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I went out and found what looked like coyote tracks, like. They were running through around where the animals were. Like, thank God they're all in pens and like secure, but like you could see the tracks all around this thing. I was like, holy, I'm gonna have to start standing and watch. But, but I do, and not just the tracking class, but the wilderness first aid, like all those classes I've taken here have been amazing. And I use those skills every day. And that was one of the things I know we're going to talk about, the lineup and the classes. And that's the other thing though, is trying to help people understand like how valuable these classes are in everyday life, not just in a survival scenario.
And you won't, when you take even a basic class and you pay attention and you obtain those skills, you look at the world in a different way. Someone does my fire making class, they're never going to look at cattails or different types of birch or different types
of grapevine.
And they're going to look at it in a different way.
Yeah.
And they're going to find themselves gathering as they're going along while they're hiking because, hey, maybe you're going to need this.
I don't throw out all my dryer lint anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Famous Boy Scout skill, which we learned to understand how that works too, all the way up to how to substitute those things with things in nature. And tracks too. Man, once you get into tracks like you're doing, sending me pictures, and I have lots of friends that send me pictures.
I bet, yeah.
And once in a while, it's something
cool.
Pretty cool. And so I always have a fun time looking at them. And if you ever send me a track, make sure to give me a scale so I know how big it is, whether it be your hand or a ruler. I love getting a cat track and someone asks if it's a cougar and there's no scale.
Right.
It's a cat.
For sure.
There's no scale. I need to know what size it is. So a ruler is ideal or something that I can cell phone, whatever.
Yeah, cell phone, something. Of course,
size reference.
How you can take the picture with it. So as we talked about, martial arts was going so like gangbusters. So it kind of pulled away from some of the classes and skills development things that you're doing here.
So many tournaments and just from my own training to focusing on my students' training. Saturdays, we're doing a Sunday survival class series because our Saturdays are just jammed right now. And those classes are at the mall with the Jiu-jitsu program. And they are our biggest. We have over 100 people come through on that day.
Well, listen, I remember
kids and grown-ups.
Before you guys got the Wilton location, this place was
couldn't park.
You couldn't park. Not only that though, it was like you would come in for a class. It was like an assembly line. It was like one class in, one class out, one class in. Because I would come in for a class. There'd be a class leaving. As I was leaving my class, there's another class coming in, and there's multiple classrooms.
And
so it's like
we first started with a little renovation. We expanded our what was our track room into another room, which is a storage room, which gave us another 800 square foot of training. And we thought that was enough. And at that point, we also had at the end of COVID, we had Cutting Edge, now Rising Phoenix Taekwondo. They were renting this room right in here because they lost their beautiful facility during COVID. So we rented out to them. So it got to a point then we're like, guys, hopefully you find a new spot soon. And they did. And then we thought we're fine. Within a couple of weeks of them moving out of here, the lot filled right back up again. And that's when we realized we needed to start looking at another place. And we looked all over the place. We were looking at West Ave, but a lot of these places were in bad shape. They're really expensive for what you get. And I think it was Steve Zabala.
No, it was me.
Was it you? It was you? And Steve backed you up, both of you.
Steve and I have actually been going back and forth with this. He says it was his idea. And I'm like, no, man, it was my idea.
Because you had checked it out.
Because I was also looking for space for my office. Yes. And I was like, you should check out the Whitman Mall. I'm like, their spaces for what you're looking for is so affordable.
Yes. Yeah, it was just under or about $10 a square foot.
Yeah, take that, Steve.
Yeah, which you cannot touch that close to downtown.
No.
And I checked out several spaces there, and I walked into one. I was like, man, this looks a lot like the Marcelo Garcia School in New York City, which my brother and I trained a lot at our Brown the Black Belt years. And I was like, man, we could not afford this. And then they gave us the price. I'm like, man, it was cheaper than some of those places on West Ave that weren't very good and was bigger. So we saved a lot of money on rent. We did spend more on mats and fixing the place up, but we are, we have definitely cleared our expenses in the last year, and the school continues to grow. And if you're interested in jiu-jitsu, we have up till December 15th. We may extend it. If you sign up, you get a free gi. So that's kind of a cool little plug. And of course, we have our awesome programs here at Ndakinna. We have our Muay Thai programs, Kyokushin Karate, Judo, and we do some jiu-jitsu still here. But the majority of it, except for the kids, because they like to go back and forth between Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu, the majority of our adult jiu-jitsu and a lot of our kids is at Wilton Mall.
Love it.
Yeah, so it's going great.
So now that it's going great, you're stepping back into skills development stuff.
It's been, I've been wanting to, but I also get hired privately to do skills programs. So it's not that I haven't stopped doing them. It's just you get hired to go somewhere else and do it for a group. And that always pays a little more too. But I'm like, you know what? We need to continue those skills here. And people kept asking for them. So we decided to bring it back with these 3.5 hour courses where we take, you've done the full day courses or multiple day courses where we do a lot of things in a day. I love that. I love walking through the woods, and you kind of learn based on what we find. I have a set idea of what you're going to learn. You're definitely going to learn fire, definitely learn some tracks. But when you key in on particular subjects, you can focus on them a little more. So we're kicking off with this survival series where I take really a little more time than I would spend in a day on each subject in a shorter segment, but hyper focused on fire making. And the fire making we focus on in this first class at the end of January is key things you should know. You're not right away going to learn how to make a fire with friction. Although at the end of the class, people will get a chance to try it.
We're going to do some bow stuff?
At the end, they will do a group bow drill, and they will get a coal, and they will see how it works.
Okay.
But as a teenager, once again, I was younger, and I wasn't very patient back then. It took me a long time to master that.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with, something more obtainable, like how to use one of these fire rods, right, to make fire. And what if you just had this? What if you just had matches, preferably waterproof matches? Maybe not. What could you find in nature in all different weather conditions to have that ignite? Okay, because you might not have a high-tech tinder with you. Maybe you just have the striker. So what types of materials should you gather in the wild to make a fire? And also, what things should you take with you? And that's where that's the focus. And fire this time of year is if not it depends on the situation, but it can be the most important skill.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
like your car breaks down.
Yeah, exactly.
You're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Like, what are you going to do?
Exactly. And your car can only keep you so warm.
For so long.
Exactly.
That temperature drops.
Many, many situations where if you have the ability to make fire, it could be the difference between life and death. And there's lots of situations like that in the Adirondacks. And so how to gather things safely, how to gather things legally. Birch trees are one of the best things to gather from, but it's illegal in the park to gather it from a live tree. But guess what? If it's a survival situation, right, and you're going to die, tickets burn too. So we also talk about that. There's funny stories, survival stories locally. A few years ago, a kid, probably 20 years ago, a kid was lost in the vast Skidmore woods where you can hear people in trains, but we won't get into that. But they learned one thing about survival: stay where you are. So they stayed where they were for several days. They heard people, they heard trains, they stayed where they were. They had a lighter, but they didn't want to catch the woods on fire. Luckily, someone eventually walked close enough to them and they were rescued. So we get into kind of like, okay, you probably should have used that lighter.
Right.
Okay, if you hear people, trains, that's a situation where you don't stay where you are. Staying where you are is great if people are going to come look for you. But I think there's some common sense in survival too.
Yeah.
So we get into that kind of stuff in all our classes. There's exceptions to every rule. And even in survival, people emphasize shelter, fire, water, food, right? Really depends on the situation. And of course, if you're injured or have a medical condition, first aid, medicine, that's going to be the first thing in certain situations. But in the wintertime, fire and shelter are going to be right up there at top. always going to need to consider water, always going to need to consider food, situational skills like first aid, or of course navigation, which is going to be another one of our Sunday series, both how to use a compass to how to use the sun, how to use the stars, how to use the trees, how to use pretty much, well, dozens of things in the natural world that help you find your way beyond a compass.
Which again, not common knowledge these days.
No, and everything but a GPS.
How many people do you think could actually, like out of 10 people, how many people do you think could actually orient themselves with an actual map?
I've known people that are 46ers that don't know how to use a map and compass.
That's wild.
Or they came to a class to learn it, to do a couple of the bushwhack ones. So there are a lot of people that spend time in the woods that don't even know how to use a compass, which is probably the most basic skill, much less learning how to read the natural world, to know which direction is which, or even really know which direction they're going. So I think anybody that spends time in the outdoors should have some skills.
Yeah, I agree.
At least basic
And I
skills.
get we all got phones and there's GPSs, but technology fails.
It does fail.
And then what are you going to do? You're out in the middle of somewhere and your GPS
And I think
dies
they'll
out.
rescue you once for free. But I remember
They charge you after that?
I think it was in the Adirondacks, where a guy got rescued, bushwhack and whatever. Cool. Like 3-4 weeks later, he gets rescued again. He got a big bill. So
That's
this guy
wild.
was just going out and putting himself in bad situations, which of course some of these survival shows, they've gotten better. Now they're showing real skills. But you know, that idea of being in danger, sometimes people latch onto that idea, but need to understand you should still have some skills when you put yourself in some kind of danger.
Yeah.
And so the Sunday Survival Series focuses a lot on that. So we're starting with fire, being in the wintertime, you know, get this fire started right. Haha. Leah told me she'd kill me if I said that. So start out with something in fire where people have been cold in the wintertime, you know, even in their own house when the propane runs out. Happens here in Ndakinna once in a while. So start with that. And even though we're going to do it in the wintertime, the same skills will work any time of year.
And it's got to be harder in the winter.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to do it in the wintertime. And it's a time when people think about staying warm. So we're going to really focus on key skills I think anybody should have around fire making. And a teaser to a primitive method like the bow drill, which we will offer another course later in the year.
I haven't taken that yet. I want to do that.
Making your own primitive fire kit and making a coal with it. So they'll be teased with it during the class.
Okay.
And the tracking class the next month will focus on, you know, key tracks that you might see in your backyard, you might see on a hike. And that's going to be a little more of a recreational kind of focus. Like it's just expanding your horizons to the natural world. But understanding tracks is a lot like understanding other things in nature, how to classify things, how to figure out the difference, how to identify different trees. It's a survival skill. And of course, if you go back, well, still nowadays as well, but all of us in our ancestry had it where, you know, some animals you want to track, they could help you find a meal in a survival situation. Other animals in certain parts of the world or even the United States, you track the wrong animal at the wrong time, right? Instead of finding a meal, you could be a meal.
You could be a meal, yeah.
Especially for younger people.
Maybe go the opposite direction on those ones.
And believe me, when I've been out west and I find a nice fresh mama grizzly bear track and a nice fresh cub track, and it's going that way, I may not go that way.
No.
So why, you know, so that even nowadays tracking can keep you out of trouble.
Yeah. I remember.
And explore a new world as
What's
well.
the track that you have there?
This is a wolf track.
A wolf track.
Yeah, this is a western wolf, so a little bigger than our Algonquin eastern wolf. And you have the symmetrical toes, 4 toes in the track, claws, triangular shaped heel pad, and pretty much the same on both sides. Very close, although there is a lead toe.
And that one up there?
That is a grizzly bear
That's
track.
a grizzly, which is about the size of a small pizza.
Yeah, and that isn't even a really big one, but that's a nice one with nice claws on it.
Yeah.
So that one is from Yellowstone. So I have thousands of plaster casts of various tracks. So during the track class, we go through a number of these of all different sizes, how to identify the various family groups, orders, and the differences between them.
The bear ones are wild because I remember, because that's what I was thinking about, the plaster casts that you have. And like some of the bear ones are like, you could see like the claws, the whole thing, the size of that thing. And it's like, wow, if that thing hit you, like you are going to be banged up.
Exactly. And that's where, you certainly learn. And one of the things we teach when you're out west, trying to tell the difference between a black bear, track and a grizzly track. The claws is one thing because grizzlies will have longer claws, but they dig all year. So their claws will start to be shorter by the fall time. So we also look at the actual shape of the track as well. So, but it's pretty easy to understand in our Western tracking classes. It's important to tell the difference between the two.
I bet.
Yeah. So there's a number of different things you look at.
Black bears, nice. Grizzly bears will eat you.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got fire building in January. Then we've got tracking in February.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, dates to remind myself. January 25th, the Sunday, 11 a.m. to 2:30. We have to take a little 30-minute break for lunch. Will be the fire making class.
You doing those here?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to do them right here in the backwoods.
Nice.
So we will start, everyone will start in here. We'll do some classroom work. Even with the fire making, I'll have a bunch of stuff laid out on a table, examples of different types of tinder and kindling and fire, even high-tech things you could buy and talk about them. Even practice a little bit with the steel rods because not everybody knows how to use it. And if it's a really cold day, as you know, from survival treks, your hands are, So I want you to at least have a chance to understand the skill. And then we're going to go out in the woods after our short little lunch and try it out. Make fire in multiple ways, have the people gather the materials they need to do it. And the same with the tracking class, which is going to be on February 22nd, same time, 11 to 2:30. We're going to be in here, have some plaster casts set out, talk about the footprints, talk about the gait patterns, talk about the scat, the other thing animals leave behind. So key clues that could help them identify tracks. And then we'll go out in the woods and look for some. So a little classroom study and then field study.
Nice.
So I think it's always worked the best, especially in the wintertime, because there's nothing worse than sitting around and having me talk, for 30, 40 minutes and you're standing still and it's, 10 degrees below zero. So I try to get past that part inside. And then we go out and we're moving, we're really doing the skills.
I'd like to say maybe we could hope for warmer weather, but
no, it's good to have it cold.
We already, it's wild, right? Because last year, I don't think we saw a single below zero temperature, and now we're here first week of December. We got negative. It was -1 the other day, and I was going out to feed the pigs. I'm like, what is this? Man?
And we might be getting more snow this week.
And
I fly out to Vegas on Wednesday for the Nogi Worlds, and I'm like, I'm the snowplow guy here too.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, man, Don kind of knows how to use it, but there's a little power steering issue right now. So hopefully he can handle it. But.
So January, February, and then still picking dates for navigation and other classes?
We decided we clump two. By the time we get up to the first class, we will have the next two figured
Nice.
out. And a lot of it depends on my schedule, my working around jiu-jitsu tournaments and other travel that I have. And it's pretty busy this weekend. One of our top guys, Kyle, who just won the Nogi Pan American Championships at Blue in September, he's heading out. He's the #1 seed in the Nogi Worlds in Vegas. And
is he really?
He's
he
#1
is
seed.
So nasty.
So, and I told him I won the Pans as a brown belt 11 years ago and haven't done a big Nogi event since I've been a black belt, which I got my black belt in 2015. So I said, I'm going to compete too. So I'm throwing my hat in.
Nice.
Going against other old guys, mostly instructors. So it's fun. So we will both be competing this Saturday in the Nogi Worlds.
Very
Flying
cool.
out a little early to get acclimated. So
yeah, I'm
it'll be
excited
fun.
for Kyle. He's a good dude, and I remember when he started a few years ago, and I remember him saying I can't remember who he was talking about. He was talking about some pro jiu-jitsu guy, and he's like, I'm gonna be like that dude. And I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like,
no, he was a former Long Island wrestler.
Yeah.
And not all wrestling is a great pace, but not all wrestlers make the transition as quickly as he did. This guy Kyle was mostly a gi guy for the first year. Didn't do that much no-gi, but within a year, he got his blue belt within a year, which is fast for a competitor.
Yeah.
And he went right out and won triple gold at the IBJJF New Jersey International Open. He won his gi division, lightweight, and then the next day he had no-gi. He won the no-gi, and then he went into the open class, which is where all weight class winners can go against. He submitted a super heavyweight. This guy's like 160 pounds. He submitted a guy well over 200.
Listen, the day that I tested for my blue belt, I did the noon class later on that day. He was like a 1-stripe white and tapped me out with an Ezekiel choke. He'd been doing jiu-jitsu for like 2 months.
No,
I'm like,
he got it. Like I said, he picked it up very quickly.
yeah.
And wrestling is a great base, but sometimes it takes a while to make that transition. And he just instant.
Oh, yeah.
And he for being a gi guy, and he prefers gi, but now he's number 3 in the world right now, and number 1 going into the worlds, the number 1 guy competing in it. And so he's pretty pumped. So it'll be fun. I go off before him so I can get my matches out of the way, and then I get to coach him.
Focus on coaching him.
Yeah,
Amazing.
which is really what I'm going for. But
Yeah.
hey, if I'm there, I might as well
get a match.
try to
in.
get on that podium too.
Well,
So
congrats to Kyle.
yeah, he's awesome.
So if people want to learn more about the survival courses, maybe they want to sign up, or they're just looking for more information, where can they find that?
Go to Ndakinnacenter.org. Really easy spelling.
Yeah.
Ndakinna Center, CENTER.org, Ndakinnacenter.org.
Perfect.
And we also have an Instagram too. If you just look up Ndakinna, you will find it. And of course, our jiu-jitsu program, SaratogaJiujitsu.com. We made it
It's a
easy.
hard one. Yeah.
Exactly. And our Muay Thai and other programs here, we're creating a new website for Saratoga Elite MA, but for now it's still our old website before we made the split, which is nebjja.com. nebjja.com. But a new website is coming. I keep saying that. We're doing a photo shoot within the hour to fill in the gaps. With
Nice.
some more Muay Thai photos for our website.
Love it. Well, thank you for having me come over. And sit down to talk,
always,
man. I really appreciate it.
Good to be on with you and
Yeah.
fun time. And I know, Steve's a good talker. You had Don on.
I know.
Yeah.
This is what, your 3rd appearance, 4th appearance?
Second or third.
Something
I'm
like
not
that,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Focus on different things.
You're
So
regular at this point, you know.
It's great. You have to get my brother on speaking the language.
I know. I do need to get Jesse
He
on.
runs the school of the Abenaki at Middlebury.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, he's, again.
And he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu too, just like my dad.
And Kyokushin too?
He is not Kyokushin, but he is very solid 3rd-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, he did some Taekwondo back in the day and a little bit of Muay Thai.
You were more the Kyokushin.
Yeah,
guy.
I'm a 7th-degree black belt in Kyokushin Karate.
Every time I run into Nino
Yeah.
over at North Country,
good
he's
guy.
like, he brings you up. He's like, tell Jim I said hi.
That's where I said that used to be the biggest, baddest style on the block, before Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came into the scene. But it still is a very solid style. A lot of our Muay Thai fighters also train in Kyokushin, especially one of our kids that just won the Muay Thai World Championships. He also has a brown belt in Kyokushin.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah.
He's like 10 years old, right?
Yeah, he's 12 years old.
He's 12 years old.
Yeah.
He's a little kid, though.
Damian Snyder. He's also took second in the States in wrestling last year.
I was going to say he's a badass in
He's
jiu-jitsu, too.
won a few IBJJF Opens. The kid's a beast.
He's a little weapon.
So he also is a Kyokushin brown belt.
Nice.
So, cool mix here.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for coming on, Jim. Appreciate it. Thanks,
My
everybody, for
pleasure.
listening. Of course, you can hear from us every week. Find us on buyinglocal.us, of course, is our website with all of our local news articles for Warren, Washington, Saratoga County. You can find our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, Rumble, and YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe, like, 5-star review, all those good things. We really appreciate it.
6-star review.
6 star.
6 stars.
Throw a 6-star in there, everybody.